What is up, all of my beautiful dudes and dudettes? Darth Nash 6 here, and this video is a little bit different than my normal content. Yes, as you can read the title right now, this is a Plunder Patrol deck profile. Now, I know Plunder Patrol did not exist from the years of 2011 to 2013. That's okay. Recently, over the past few weeks, one of my friends at Locals has been doing phenomenally well with this Plunder Patrol deck that he's been playing for quite a while. And at these last two tournaments, he went undefeated, not using his side deck once, which I think is just absolutely amazing, and I knew I needed to get his deck profile. Here it is. And I hope that you guys enjoy it, and congratulate him down in the comments below for doing so well in what is essentially a Tier 0 format right now with Plunder Patrol of all decks. What is up, all of my beautiful dudes and dudettes? We've got Tyler here, otherwise known as Wheels, and he has done something unbelievably insane. What have you done the past two tournaments?
I have done phenomenally well playing Adventure Plunder Patrol without siding.
Yeah. So last week he went undefeated, winning the tournament overall. And today you just had one loss.
Yep, I had one loss. I went 3-1, got third.
Excellent. All right. Let's just hop right into the deck profile.
Sure, works with me. All right, started off very simple. We've got 3 copies of Golden Hair. Golden Hair is absolutely phenomenal. She can discard a Plunder Patrol from my hand to summon herself from my hand, or she can discard a card from the graveyard, or from my hand while she's in the graveyard to summon herself from my graveyard. The one from grave locks you into Plunder Patrols, but that's fine. You're playing Plunder Patrol. You don't really mind that. Why would you mind that, you know? Overall insane. Free extender. It's a tuner monster. Combos very nicely with this. If you discard this from your hand or it summons a guy from the deck, so discard it with either of its effects, trigger this, get a guy from the deck. Accept itself, and while it's on the field during your opponent's turn, it can tag itself into a ship that has an attribute of a monster on their field during the graveyard, just like Blackbeard, but doesn't get you the draw. Absolutely.
Most of them have that effect, right?
So the other one that has that effect is Redbeard.
So you got Whitebeard, you got Edward Newgate, and Red-Haired Chaps.
Yes. Redbeard has the same secondary effect to tag itself into a ship. Its other effect is when it's sent from hand or the monster zone to the graveyard, it can equip itself to a Plunder Patrol monster on my field.
Okay.
It's mostly useful for summoning off of Whitebeard when you discard this on your opponent's turn to summon this from the deck on your opponent's turn. Then you trigger its effect there to get a different ship. That's when this card's most useful, but I played it 3 because it can be a combo piece with the field spell, which I will describe when we get to the field spell. So it can be a bit of a combo piece with that, or even with Black Eyes, because Black Eyes' second effect can target a Plunder Patrol monster in the back row and special summon it in defense mode when it's sent from the hand of the monster zone to the graveyard. So it can kind of combo with this to get an extra material on your board for extra link or whatever plays you want to do.
And Black Eyes kind of like single-handedly fixed it.
Between Black Eyes and Yord, they fixed it. Yes, because its main effect and the better effect targets a Plunder Patrol in the back row, special summons itself, then adds it to the hand. That effect is handy because of DD Crow. If you get DD Crowed, it still summons itself, because it summons then adds.
Okay.
So it's very handy. I have gotten a few people with that when they have DD Crowed me and I've just put it on my board. They just look at it, go.
Fiddlesticks.
Yep, they have to read it again, look at it, and I go, yep, it still summons itself because of the wording. I love this card so much. It's wonderful. The last name is Bluebeard. I play all of them at 3 because I want to see all of them. There's not one that I truly would want at 2. Even though people mostly play Redbeard at 2, I want to see it, and the third one has come up in grind games against my friends to where I just feel I need the third one. It came up literally today against Kyle. It was the only reason our game went 2 times because I was able to have the third one in my deck, actually. So it literally came up tonight where I needed the third one. So I will always play 3 copies of each. I always want to see them. That's all for the main deck Plunder Patrol monsters. I have a few other main deck monsters. Ice Jade Ran Azurine.
This is a newer addition.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't in my previous deck profile on someone else's channel, but that's because it wasn't out at the time. But this card is very handy for making Changing. Plus, it discards our water monsters, which all of our Plunder Patrols are, so it can trigger their effects. So you can either summon this or use this to pitch one and trigger one of their effects, you know? Either get Golden Hair Engraved, summon from deck, equip to one, discard, draw a card. I forgot to mention that. This one also specs itself. I kind of glossed over this one, didn't I? I'm sorry, that's disrespectful. I'm sorry, everybody. It can spec itself from your hand when you control Plunder Patrol, and when it's sent to grave, it discards to draw. You can discard a card, draw a card. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, Bluebeard. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to gloss over you like that. Oh my god. Sorry, everybody. But this pitches a water monster to summon itself, then it can optionally summon a token. It is a level 3/0/0 Aqua that could, while it is on your field, you are locked into water monsters, so you might need to be a little careful about that, but usually you're summoning the token, then using Azurine and the token to just make Changing. Yeah. Changing in this deck is insane because our ships banish, so it can also then trigger Changing after we banish with a ship. So that's why I truly love this card in this deck, is because we have easy access to Changing with just being able to banish with our ships. I truly love this card, and I think that it is worth running. If you don't want to, I understand. It's not necessary by any means. I just personally feel it is, so I play it. After that, we have 3 Water Enchantress. Water Enchantress.
Water monster that you discarded?
Yeah, this combo is actually nuts because you can discard this, banish, then you can make Changing and banish this. So if you're going second, trigger Changing while going second, or you can even banish this to get Fateful Adventure on your field, then make Changing to get the equip. This combo right here is absolutely nuts, and honestly, it's why I wanted to play this deck as the Brave part of the deck, because an extra water monster that's insane to discard with Azurine was just absolutely nuts.
Because I know before Jord came out,
yeah.
People weren't really liking the Enchantress, like increased the ceiling but reduced the consistency.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can just have pitch it off of Agri now, which came out. It came out of the same set that Jord came out, right?
Jord was Photon Hypernova, I believe. Yeah, it was like a set or two after. It was right around that time frame when we got Azurine as well. But yeah, no, Azurine just being able to pitch any of the water monsters to trigger any of their effects or get any of them in the graveyard is just insane and more than worth playing in my personal opinion, especially if you are playing the Brave engine like I am, or the Adventure engine, however, whatever. Yeah. But pitching Water Enchantress, while she's in the hand or the graveyard, she can banish herself to add Rite of Aramesir, and she can also spec herself. We control the Plunder Patrol token, or the Adventure token. There's Plunder Patrol tokens as well in this deck. I'm getting confused. There's so many tokens. So pitching this to then trigger her effect, it's basically just free card advantage because you discarded a card and then you immediately got it back. You lost nothing to get Changing on the board. That's insane. After that, we have the Griffin Rider. While we control the Adventure token, shuffle it back to negate, spec itself. During the main phase, you can draw this off of Blackbeard during your opponent's turn and spec it if you have the Adventure token. I have done that in a game where I had to shuffle it back on my turn to negate. I think it might have been a Nibiru. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something when I was attempting to go to my turn, and then Blackbeard drew me Griffin Rider on my opponent's turn. I was like, there's no way that just happened. So I got it back on my field for my opponent's turn, and that was just absolutely disgusting. So this engine is so good. I go back and forth on it sometimes because it can brick your hand every now and then with the Draco back, or even Faithful or this without any extenders or anything else in your hand can just be dead. So it kind of sucks sometimes, but the card advantage you get from them is just not something I feel is rivaled with any other variant of Plunder. Even the Runic one is like... It's too clunky sometimes for my personal opinion. This one just is the most consistently good in my opinion and just the better one. Another personal choice I like to run is one of Shathana. It's an extra level 4 water extender that I can either pitch off of Azurine or just get a level 4 body on board. It can help make Xyz, Link, or Synchro plays because being a level 4 body, it gives, and our tuner monsters all being generic, it's just a free extender to help us make those, and it has come up before where I've only drawn Whitebeard and Shathana before, and it would have just been Whitebeard pass, but I was able to go completely off into Lease with Blackbeard. Yeah. I was just able to get to my full end board because I was able to make Yord and get black guys from the deck. Like it was just enough to get me to the full end board, just having the simple one extender. I don't want to run more than one of it because I don't want to draw multiples of it because it's not good in multiples at all. So seeing multiples of it doesn't do you anything. After that, I have DD Crow. Ash, this format is not particularly good, so I replaced it with DD Crow. This can help trigger Changing because discard it. So there's hands where you have to play Changing control where the only monster on your board is Changing, and that's completely fine if you draw DD Crow because you can trigger your Changing that way. So it's not just sitting on a big guy, it's sitting on a big guy that actually has an interruption or after your interruption. So this can make those hands very good, plus it's just good to hit the graveyard effects running around right now. It's just something that I prefer it over Ghost Spell in this deck just for the changing reasons, just personally speaking. Yeah, that's my reason for this over Ghost Spell, because I think most people are considering Ghost Spell better right now, so this is my reason for playing it in this deck, is just it is personally better in this deck, in my personal opinion. After that, the Field Spell. Plunder Patrol Shipyard. Discard a card to search Plunder Patrol, any Plunder Patrol card. If there was a spell trap that was, I wish Booty was just slightly better. It would be worth searching if it was just slightly better. But this searches any of your Plunder Patrol monsters. It fixes almost any hand if it resolves. It really does just get you any piece you need to get to an end board. And then it can bring itself back from the graveyard by bouncing a Plunder Patrol that's in your spell and trap card zone to your hand, which is just insane, because if they do remove it but don't banish it, then you can get it back from your graveyard. I have comboed this with Redbeard before, where I have dropleted. I have droplet in here, spoiler alert. I have sent this during my opponent's turn, then during my turn, bounced Redbeard, using this to set this, using this to pitch the Redbeard, then re-equipping the Redbeard to the monster I bounced it off of, gaining me just plus. That literally just goes plus into a search and the field spell on my field. It literally just gains me card advantage. It's absolutely insane. I love this deck. You can do neat little combos like that where you just stay card neutral and actually just gain card advantage just simply by thinking when you can re-equip Redbeard. I try to that's why I also play 3 Redbeard, is because I can use it in different combo lines that I've found out just by playing the deck, which I really appreciate. Plus something I've been doing recently is normal summoning and then specking this. You link this into Almirage, then use the 2 to make SP Little Knight.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. It's a quick effect. It's just easy to get to her additional effect that way. It's been something I've been doing for a little bit. I originally wasn't going to be playing SP because I didn't want to spend the money for it.
Understandable.
I did pull it out of a pack though, so
there we go.
I was very fortunate because I would not be playing it right now, and it would make a lot of my matchups a lot worse.
The Egyptian God cards have blessed you.
Right? It's just such a good card. It makes some matchups just so much better because if your board stays, you have Synchros, Exceeds on your board, you can just simply make SP Little Knight right at the start of your turn and just banish something if you need to. Just start clearing the board. Who cares about attacking directly? If you break a board and can just win through sheer card advantage, you won the duel. Who cares?
There you go.
I play 2 Rite of Aramis here. I played 3 of it when I first started playing the Adventure Engine, and I started bricking on the Adventure Engine way too much between drawing too many copies of Water, Rite, and the Adventure pieces. There were too many games where I played pure Adventure in a Plunder Patrol deck to justify running 3 of it, but I want the 3 Water Enchantress, and I didn't feel anything else was cuttable, so I felt a copy of this, because this is searchable and recurable from the graveyard with Water Enchantress. I felt it was the most cuttable, or at least a copy of it was the most cuttable. Just based on personal preference. Again, my personal preferences are the reasons I'm running any of these ratios the way I do. Nothing is too out of ordinary, but just through playing the deck, this is my personal way of playing it. After that, 2 Triple Tactics. Hand trap format, this card is insane right now. Taking monsters, drawing cards, looking at your opponent's hand, ripping cards. This card is just all around good, especially right now. I feel this card is just fantastic. Trying to break a board, this card comes up so much. Just being able to steal anything or get more cards is just... Any kind of card advantage is great. And interrupting your opponent while doing it by taking something like a Barone, if it's used its negate, disgusting. Like, how do you come back from that? You know, like, I took your Barone, and now I'm going to pop something on your field with yours, and then I'm going to link it off.
Like that?
Exactly. Yeah, you got to disrespect some people sometimes, just a little bit. After that, we have the two last pieces to the Adventure Engine, the Fateful Adventure and the Dracoback. The Fateful Adventure is what gets placed off of Rite of Eremsir. When you summon a monster, it can add or equip an equip spell from your deck, which is the Dracoback. This also says once per turn you can search a monster that mentions the adventure token in its text, and then send a card from your hand to the graveyard. Absolutely insane. Its third effect says once per turn a monster is equipped with an equipped card, cannot be destroyed by battle. This works with your Plunder Patrol ships, and Redbeard equipping itself to them, because they count as equipped cards. So this protects all of your Plunder Patrol cards as well. So this protects all your extra deck monsters by battle once per turn. So it makes your guys that sometimes aren't always the biggest. Sometimes your guys can get really huge, 35, 4,000, 45. You can get high. You can get really high attack points sometimes, but normally they're about 2,000 to 3,000, so they're a bit lower sometimes, where it's easier to run them over with most decks nowadays. Sometimes. So this can really just help, being that they either have to have an answer for this or be able to attack a monster twice to get around it, and it's just very handy. It's just very helpful being able to protect the Plunder Patrols like that, which is honestly the main reason to play this variant of the deck. Is the extra negate plus battle protection is just insane. And then you still have the Dracoback bounce on it by itself, because you can also discard this off the field spell to search a card and then equip this. I've done that before as well. This card being valuable like that, but the best thing I've ever done with that is sending it off of Droplet on my opponent's turn to then re-equip it. It's literally just a free send, which is also another reason to play Droplet, because you can send cards like Water Enchantress, you can even send extra copies of Azurine or Plunder names and trigger effects via the Plunder names. You get Water Enchantress in Graveyard, or even Dracoback in Graveyard. There's just free discards. You can even just send the field spell if you need to, because you can get it back from the graveyard by bouncing a card. So you can even send the field spell. There's a lot of this card is just really good because it's just like almost always live, and you almost always have a good send off of it. So I personally love this card, and it's honestly just great, this format, and having a deck that can just have free sends is just great for it personally. So I love Droplet. It's come up a lot. It's insane. If you're not playing it, you should be. I have 3 more cards in the deck. My list is 41 cards. I just don't want to cut anything else. The last 3 are 3 one-ofs: Foolish Burial, Terraforming, and Called by the Grave.
Good enough one-ofs.
Yep. This sends Golden Hair or Water Enchantress from my deck to the graveyard, giving me access to the Adventure Engine or Plunder Patrol cards. So this card's just all around insane. This gets me access to my field spell, which gets me access to my Plunder Patrol cards. So insane. And stopping my opponent from interacting with me, or even stopping something on their turn when they're trying to play, interrupting them with Called by the Grave. That can be absolutely brutal and detrimental. So just the usefulness of this card is just too good to not play it, even though it is a one-of, so it can feel kind of sacky or even bricky sometimes if you don't draw an engine card. It can be, but I think that the times it's come up for me are just too good to not play it. I think the upsides are way better than the potential downsides.
There's a reason it's at 1, so you might as well play it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's at 1 for a reason, and it's not like other one-of cards like Armageddon Knight, where it's only really useful in a dark deck. This is a card that's just good in any deck, so it's like, why wouldn't I play it? It's at 1, it's good in every deck. Like, what's the downside, you know? Like, why wouldn't I? Right, we're on to the extra deck. 15 card extra deck, no reason not to play 15. I play Salamander and Almirage. Almirage is just, it's just the easiest way to sometimes get to Blackbeard, because sometimes all you have is a Golden Hair in your hand. So you can normal summon her, link into Almirage, then use her effect to discard a card to summon her, and then use these two to make Blackbeard. So it helps remedy some of the like smaller hands where you don't really have a lot, and it's also, like I described earlier, a bridge to SP Little Knight with Redbeard or Golden Hair. Or even if you normal summon Black Eyes, which kind of sucks if you have to, but sometimes getting to SP Little Knight is just what you need to do. It's just sometimes what you need to do to get to, you know, your end board or your win con. So sometimes you just have to, and sometimes it sucks, but Almirage is currently just completely uncuttable. It's insane for just having that versatility. And I did have its Destruction Protection effect come up today, because I was able to keep it on my end board because I had the extra extender in my hand. So I was able to keep this for a protection effect. and it did end up coming up because without the protection effect, I wouldn't have been able to finish my end board. So it really did come up when I was trying to play into. I was trying to actually play into it, but I wasn't trying to. It wasn't on my end board. I was trying to keep it on my end board, but I ended up having to use it. That's what it was. Sorry, a little bit out of it today. All my rounds went to time. I've jumped from thing to thing to thing all night, so I'm a bit cooked. So yeah, Elm Rush, it's just all around useful, and the only thing that this is going to ever get cut for is a Plunder Patrol Link 1. That's the only thing it's ever going to go for, because that's the only thing that would be better, unless they print another generic Link 1 that just takes a normal summoned monster or something like that, you know. Unless they print another card like that, it's never getting cut unless it's for like a Plunder Patrol card that comes out that's just replaces it or something, you know.
SP Little Knight.
The SP Little Knight. Yeah, I don't gotta explain this one. It's everywhere. It's just good, and you can make it in this deck. You do lock yourself, so you have to be careful about what generic cards you play in the extra deck, but that's why I play a lot of weirder ratios in comparison to some people, is just because I fully embrace the lock, and I will play around it no matter what I do anyway. So I will just play into the lock sometimes because I have to. So if it's inevitable, it's inevitable. I'll just do it, and if I have to do it early, that's fine with me. I'm more than willing to commit to that because the Plunder Patrol engine is strong enough on its own to win a lot of matchups. A lot of high-tier decks are very, very hard to beat. I did beat a Labyrinth player today, which is the first time I've done that with this deck, and it took 45 minutes. We went to time. It was an absolutely insane game one. It was just one game. It took forever. I had the right interactions to keep him from getting enough of his end board. It was just, I just had enough. Blackbeard. I love this card. This card is... the artwork is not only amazing, but tagging itself into a ship by targeting any effect monster on our field and then equipping that target to draw a card and summon a ship from our extra deck that has an attribute of a monster on our opponent's field or in their graveyard is just... it's so insane. It's insane card advantage on top of putting itself in the back row for the field spell reasons, because the field spell also buffs all Plunder Patrols by 500 for each one in the spell and trap card zone. Forgot to mention that. Cooked. Like I said, I'm a bit cooked, but this card is just versatile, and its effect is a quick effect, so you can go battle phase, attack with this, and then use its effect to summon a ship in battle phase, and then attack with the ship. So it can help with potential OTKs or just extra damage or extra removal with hitting extra bodies if there are weaker ones, because 16 attack isn't the best, but 16 attacks, so I don't want to hear anything. If anybody disrespects my boy, I'm throwing hands. After that, I have 2 Brawn. Most people play 1 because it's generally only used for the OTK tool. The decks that I end up placing at my locals are always grindy decks between Salamangreat, Marincess, Dragon Link between my friends. The second one comes up too often to not have it in my extra deck. The removal effect is so useful. It's so useful, and I don't know why people don't play more of this. I really don't. Yeah, you can recycle it, but recycling ships from the graveyard just sometimes isn't doable because you need to recycle the main deck monsters to your hand to keep your engine going. So having to recycle the ships is just not enough. Most people also only usually play 1 of Yord, which I understand you can recycle it and it's recyclable, but if the first one gets negated and you don't get to use it, you don't have one. And it's in your pendulum zone, so you can't recycle it.
The new cards.
I say you need to because you want the second one for the first if the first one gets negated. Because there are hands that can't survive yours getting negated. It's just, it sucks if it does, you know. You can play through that though, so I think playing 2 is mandatory. I didn't even explain their effects. Spell Trap banished by discarding a Plunder Patrol. It gives all of our other Fiends 500 attack. If it banishes the card that it targeted, it searches a Plunder Patrol monster. It does need to banish the card successfully to get the search. All of the ships have to. Like Lise has to destroy and Moark has to banish to get their search effects, or else they won't get them because their effect is not fully resolved because it has to banish, then do the other effects. So their effects won't fully resolve if they don't actually resolve. So it is something to keep in mind about certain interactions like Droplet running around. You do sometimes have to be careful because your card effects might not resolve because they can just send them and then you don't get the search either. So be a little bit careful, but generally it should be mostly fine. Yord, they gave the deck a single pendulum, and I'm fine with it because they made this card absolutely insane. They gave the deck Black Eyes, and it made the deck somewhat viable because it had a graveyard recursion. It had the extra extender. It was missing a few cards. This card makes the deck viable in tandem with Black Eyes. It can target a Plunder Patrol in your graveyard and add it to your hand, and then put itself in your Pendulum Scale. In the Pendulum Scale, you declare an attribute, you shuffle it back into the extra deck, and you give both players a Plunder Patrol token that is a 0/0 level 4 Fiend of the chosen attribute. Meaning that in matchups where you don't normally get attributes because they're a solo attribute, something like Marincess or Dragoonity, where it's only wind or something like that. Something like that, you can give them a light, a fire, a dark, if they don't have the hand traps that fit those attributes, and then you can start playing your ships because you gave them the attribute. They have a monster of that attribute. You get to summon your other ships.
There you go.
Really cool, really fun, fixes the problem. And also putting this on your end board isn't awful either because it has a secondary effect, which I love to take advantage of. Its secondary effect says that if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field while it is on your field, you get to add a Plunder Patrol from your deck to your hand. Then, if it is equipped with a Plunder Patrol monster, you get to summon one from your deck as well. It does not have to be different names. There has been times where I have added and summoned Whitebeard because Whitebeard was just the name I needed because it's just like simply the most insane name besides Golden Hair. They're just so good. But yeah, just absolutely insane being able to add and summon Whitebeard because both of his effects are once per turn, meaning you can discard him from his hand to summon Redbeard from the deck, and then you still use the Whitebeard on the field to tag into a ship. So I did that against a super heavy samurai player where the only thing I had was normal summon Redbeard and 4 hand traps because it was a different variant of the deck at the time. So it was before I had the adventure cards way back when. And Redbeard pass-won me the game because I was able to make Yord when he was attempting to summon the Wakaushi from his spell and trap from his Pendulum Zone. I just chained to get that so that he was forced to special summon into Yord to give me a summon and the add of Whitebeard. And then he puts a Dark on his board, meaning I have access to Moark, and then I also have the discard for Redbeard. I have access to Lease that way, or whatever other one I got access to. I think it was Lease. I was just able to win simply through the fact that the normal summon was enough. So sometimes a normal summon of one of the Redbeard or Whitebeard is enough. Even though it might not feel like it, it can be. I also like to go in depth. I'm sorry if I'm over-explaining. It's just kind of something I do. I'm sorry. Plunder Patrol ship Lease. It is a monster effect negate by discarding a Plunder Patrol. It negates and destroys. It does need to destroy the monster to get the search effect. So that can be kind of tricky, but still just being a monster negate is more than useful enough to just be... This card's insane. You can't not respect this card. Secondary, and then after it does destroy, it adds any Plunder Patrol card from deck to hand, which is just simply insane, being able to add any card. So if you play any neat tech cards, if you play Booty or Emblem or something like that, and you want to search those, you can search those. Booty and Emblem are both playable cards. I don't play them currently just because they're not currently useful enough in my opinion to justify running, but I could understand if you did. Its secondary effect during the main phase can special summon a Plunder Patrol from your hand or your spell and trap card zone. Okay. So that's just useful for getting back Blackbeard, because if you make Blackbeard on your turn and use its effect, after you negate with Lease, you can then, on your opponent's turn, summon the Blackbeard and then use it again because you used it on your turn. It's once per turn, but you used it on your turn, so you get to use it again. So if they have a different attribute for you, you just get to use a different ship. And the extra interaction could be insane. But this also being able to summon Red or Whitebeard from Spawn Trap or hand is just also nice to be able to tag into other ships. So the secondary effect, never sleep on it. It's insane. Moark. The Xyz of the deck, I have hard made this before. It's absolutely hilarious because it has a detach effect where if Plunder Patrol cards on your field will be destroyed, it can detach a material instead. So hard making this is good sometimes. It's kind of hard to do sometimes because you want to send them to grave to trigger their effects. So not getting that because you Xyz summon can be tricky or difficult, but sometimes worth it. You can also discard a Plunder Patrol to target a monster on an effect monster on the field. Does come up, it cannot target tokens. To banish it and then search a spell or trap card, which is a reason to play Booty or Emblem. These need to be equipped with a Plunder Patrol to have their effects be quick effects. So do be mindful of that. They're not just quick effects all the time. Least can't search if it's not equipped, so just be mindful of that. This doesn't search if it's not equipped, and these aren't quick effects if they're not equipped, so don't. I've misplayed with that before. It's fine when it happens. Just be truthful about it. It happens.
Wait, are you talking about Ashton?
And then I have 2 more cards left in the extra deck.
Yeah, that wasn't cool.
Adamantipator, Resident Dragite, and Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Chain-Yang. Dragite, you can make a generic level 8 Synchro or a level 4 Xyz monster before locking yourself sometimes. Most people play Bahamut Toad. I have chosen to take a different route because while it's not a bad card, it doesn't always resolve, and sometimes that's just rough because then I'm just ending on Blackbeard when I wanted Blackbeard Toad or something else on my end board, and I don't think that that's worth enough just getting Impermed or Veiler, just stopping that entire play line. I think that Dragite is better just for that reason, even though it is technically a worse negate. Technically, I just think that it's more versatile in the fact that you don't need to worry about Imperm or Veiler really hitting this too much. It does make the hands where you don't have a tuner monster a bit worse when you don't play the Bahamut Toad, which I have realized, but I just don't want to cut anything. I'd play it if I had more extra deck space, but I just don't currently feel like I have enough, and I don't feel like there's anything cuttable. I just feel like I need the ratios I have for the matchups I currently am going against. I just feel like this is how I want to play the deck. If you have different preferences, change it. This is what I rolled with.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this profile. And
yeah, of course.
That's insane. The fact that you went, of your last 8 rounds you've played with this deck, you've only had 1 loss. So that's
one loss and 1 tie.
One loss, 1 tie. That's pretty insane because there are there's Salmon Great players here. There's Labyrinth players.
Well, Salad Snake Eye players. There was a
Snake Eyes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's been multiple Snake Eye players. A branded player running around. A Labyrinth player. You know, Sprite players. There's a Goblin Breaker
without using a side deck, which is the biggest flex.
I have one entirely built. I just have decided that the cards in my main deck are the cards I want to play, and therefore are either strong enough or aren't. So I want to just roll with the deck with what I've built because it should be good enough to get me through my matchups, and it usually is.
Awesome. Isn't that insane? Thank you very much, and I hope that you have a great day.
Thank you. You as well.